The neon glow of the roadside diner flickered like a dying ember, casting spidery shadows across the slick asphalt. Bella gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, the rhythmic thud of the wipers the only counterpoint to the oppressive silence within the car. This forgotten stretch of highway, a jagged scar across the desolate landscape, wasn't on her usual route, but a detour due to a late-night shift change at the Greasy Spoon and a sudden downpour had left her with few options. Hesitation gnawed at Bella. Stopping in this weather on this deserted highway was like tempting fate, but the figure's unwavering presence held a strange allure, a morbid curiosity that warred with her common sense. This wasn't the route Bella usually took, but a late-night shift change at the diner coupled with a sudden downpour had left her with few options. The radio crackled with static, offering no solace from the oppressive silence outside. Every creak of the car's aging frame sounded magnified in the stillness. A flash of movement on the side of the road startled Bella. Her heart hammered in her chest as she squinted through the rain-streaked windshield. A lone figure, hunched and cloaked in a dark, tattered robe, stood motionless in the downpour. Hesitation gnawed at Bella. Stopping in this weather on this deserted road was foolish, even reckless. But the figure's stillness felt wrong, unnerving. Against her better judgment, Bella slowed the car, her headlights illuminating the figure more clearly. It was an old woman, her face hidden beneath the hood of her robe. She raised a frail hand, beckoning Bella to stop. Panic tightened Bella's throat. This wasn't a scene from a friendly roadside diner. This was a horror movie come to life. She slammed her foot on the gas, the car lurching forward as the old woman remained rooted to the spot, her hood billowing in the wind. Bella didn't dare look back. Her heart pounded a frantic rhythm against her ribs as she threw the car into overdrive, the rain blurring the desolate landscape into streaks of gray. Just when she began to think she'd outrun whatever that was, her headlights picked up a chilling sight ahead. The road, once a straight ribbon, now ended abruptly in a sheer drop. A rickety wooden bridge, barely visible in the rain, spanned the chasm, its weathered planks groaning ominously in the wind. There were no warning signs, no guardrails, just a gaping maw of darkness below. Bella slammed on the brakes, the car skidding on the wet asphalt. She stared at the bridge, a primal scream rising in her throat. This couldn't be real. It had to be a nightmare, a cruel trick of the storm. But the groaning of the bridge and the relentless downpour were all too real. Just then, a flicker of movement in the rearview mirror caught her eye. The old woman stood on the road behind her, her dark figure a stark contrast to the swirling mist. Bella's breath hitched. This was a trap, but the chasm before her offered no escape. Fear threatened to paralyze her, but a surge of adrenaline kicked in. She wouldn't give in. She wouldn't let whatever this was win. With a deep breath, Bella shifted the car into gear. She wouldn't outrun the storm, she wouldn't outrun the old woman, but she wouldn't give up either. Taking a deep breath, she aimed the car towards the bridge, the groaning planks growing louder with each approaching foot. This was a gamble, a desperate leap of faith, but it was her only choice. As the car lurched onto the bridge, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. The rain lashed at her face as the wind howled like a banshee. Each creak of the bridge sounded like a death knell. Just as she reached the other side, a deafening crack split the night. She glanced back in the rearview mirror, a scream tearing from her throat. The bridge, engulfed in a plume of dust and debris, collapsed into the chasm below. The old woman was nowhere to be seen. Bella, shaken but alive, pulled over onto the deserted highway, her body trembling with adrenaline. The storm raged on, but for Bella, the true horror had passed. She had faced the desolate road, the chilling apparition, and the collapsing bridge, and somehow she had survived. As dawn painted the sky a streaky gray, Bella continued her journey. The memory of that night forever etched in her mind, a reminder of the dark secrets that sometimes lurk on the forgotten highways. The skeletal moon cast an eerie glow across the desolate highway, its fractured light swallowed by the inky maw of the canyon that snaked through the barren landscape. John hummed along to a scratchy oldies tune on the radio, the only sound breaking the oppressive silence that hung heavy in the stale air of his beat-up truck. This wasn't his usual route, but a flat tire on the interstate had forced him onto this lonely stretch of forgotten asphalt. John, a seasoned trucker with a weathered face and calloused hands, wasn't easily spooked. He'd seen his fair share of desolate roads and forgotten towns on his long hauls. But tonight the air crackled with a different kind of tension. An unsettling feeling, like a premonition of something sinister, crawled up his spine. His headlights, cutting through the gloom, picked up a lone figure standing on the side of the road. As John got closer, he saw it was a woman shrouded in a tattered black shawl that seemed to absorb the moonlight. Her face, obscured by a wide-brimmed hat, remained hidden in shadow. John, ever helpful, slowed down, rolling down his window. "Need a lift, ma'am?" he called out, his voice echoing in the vast emptiness. The woman remained still, her back to him. A shiver, not from the night chill, danced down John's spine. Something felt profoundly wrong. Just as he thought about driving on, the woman turned, revealing a face as pale as bone moonlight, and eyes that glowed with an unnatural emerald light. John's breath hitched. In that instant, a wave of nausea washed over him, and the air grew thick with the stench of decay. Before he could react, the woman spoke, her voice a chilling whisper. "Lost are you, traveler?" It rustled, like dead leaves skittering across a dusty floor. Terror, cold and primal, gripped John's heart. This was no ordinary woman on the side of the road. This was something else. He slammed his foot on the gas, the truck lurching forward. In the rearview mirror, the woman remained motionless, her glowing eyes boring into his back. But as John sped toward the horizon, he swore he saw a flicker of a smile on her pale lips, a smile that promised a dark and horrifying fate for those who dared to traverse this forgotten path. The rest of the night was a blur. John drove on autopilot, the unsettling encounter gnawing at his sanity. The radio sputtered, filled only with static, a chilling echo of the silence that had gripped him after his encounter. He didn't see another car, another soul, on the desolate highway. As dawn finally broke, painting the sky with streaks of pink and orange, John reached a familiar truck stop. He stumbled out of his truck, legs shaky, his heart still pounding against his ribs. He needed coffee, strong and black, to chase away the lingering dread. The memory of the woman, her pale face and glowing eyes, would forever be etched in his mind, a chilling reminder of the night he encountered something on the highway that defied explanation, something that belonged to the shadows and the nightmares they held. The gnarled branches of ancient oaks clawed at the bruised twilight sky, casting skeletal shadows across the forgotten highway. Bella gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles stark white against the worn leather. The car radio sputtered out, plunging her into a disquieting silence, broken only by the rhythmic hum of the engine and the mournful hooting of an unseen owl. This wasn't a route Bella frequented. A detour sign, its lettering faded and half obscured by clinging vines, had steered her off the familiar path. Now regret gnawed at her like a hungry beast. The asphalt, cracked and uneven, stretched before her like a weary old serpent, disappearing into the ravenous maw of the encroaching forest. A shiver traced its way down Bella's spine, a premonition of unease that tightened her throat. A flicker of movement in the rearview mirror caught her eye. Squinting, she saw a weathered hitchhiker, his face shrouded in shadow, standing on the deserted stretch of road behind her. His clothes, a tattered patchwork of brown and gray, seemed to blend with the encroaching darkness. Panic clawed at Bella. Picking up hitchhikers on a desolate road like this was textbook bad decision-making. But something about the man's stillness, the way he seemed to absorb the twilight, sent a tremor through her resolve. Curiosity, morbid and unwelcome, warred with her burgeoning fear. Taking a deep breath, Bella flicked on her hazard lights and slowly pulled over to the shoulder. The silence that descended when the engine died was suffocating. In the dim glow of her headlights, she saw the man approach, his gait uneven, almost shuffling. As he drew closer, a rancid, earthy smell assaulted Bella's nostrils. The moonlight, filtering through a gap in the canopy, revealed a gaunt face etched with 1,000 wrinkles, and eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the ancient forest. He didn't speak, just stared at her with an intensity that made Bella's skin crawl. Finally, in a voice like dry leaves rustling in the wind, he rasped, "Lost, are we?" Bella's tongue felt like sandpaper. "Just "Looking for a shortcut," she stammered, regret lacing her voice. The man chuckled, a sound like dead leaves crunching underfoot. "There are no shortcuts here, child," he rasped. "Only detours, some of which lead to places you don't want to find." Suddenly, a sickening crack echoed through the stillness. Bella's headlights flickered and died, plunging them into an inky blackness. Panic surged through her veins. When she looked back at the hitchhiker, he was gone. Only the unsettling scent of damp earth lingered. Trapped in the heart of the ancient forest with a dying car and the lingering memory of the unsettling hitchhiker, Bella knew this detour had taken a horrific turn. The silence pressed in on her, heavy and suffocating, as if the forest itself held its breath, waiting to see what became of the lost soul who dared to trespass on its forgotten path.